Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Short repair video here on a neo-geo pocket. You can see inside there you've got some battery acid leaked onto the PCB, so it's going to be a clean up job initially. This, I hope it's not done too much damage. There's some surface mounted electrolytics and things in here. You can see it's got that nice clicking thing there on the joystick, so that's pretty sweet. So yeah, I'll just tear this down now. Let's have a look inside. Right, so it's pretty difficult to get in there. As you can see, the plastic piece there with the security screw just came straight off. The acid's actually eroded that out there, so it was a good job because it was proving very, really difficult to get that tri-wing thing off. But if I just zoom in a bit here, I don't know if you can see the damage. So it's pretty extensive around there, the acid damage. I'm not going to know whether any tracks and things are damaged until obviously I've cleaned all that up and inspected it and stuff. Look at this here, this is lifted. There's quite a lot of damage around there from that acid. As you can see, the copper's actually come off the PCB there, but yeah, not going to know until I inspect a little bit further and clean it up. I'll start cleaning up with some isoprop. So on the other side of the PCB here, it's not too bad. It's just where the flux is. The acid seems to have attacked the flux in various positions, so there's no real acid damage on that side. But on the other side, as I showed previously, there's a fair bit of extensive damage around here. And I've cleaned this up relatively well at the moment. Starting to do a bit of work around this trim pot or whatever it is here. But you can see, there's a lot of damage around this area here, in particular sort of near the edge here. I suspect there's a component missing. Looks like there's a component missing from across there, possibly even across there. Maybe it's a transistor, not sure. Gonna have to try and find some schematics or something and some pictures of this PCB to understand what's happened there. I need to do something with this socket as well. Might need to replace this because there's obviously some corrosion going on in there. It might be superficial surface corrosion, but yeah, the thing I'm most concerned about is this area here. If some tracks and things have gone around here, component's not right, it's just, it might be a lost cause unless I can find some pretty some good close-ups of this area, and whether I can replace any components that are damaged or missing from around there. Only time will tell. Well, despite the damage to this, it's actually working. So I've got the jack here, DC jack here, and it's centre pin positive 3 volt. So just connect that up, and I'm going to just hold this together carefully. Try and power it up. Now that you're going to be able to see, the screen's a bit shimmery, so it's very hard to see. Is there a contrast or brightness? So I've just let it reset and try again. Yeah, so as you can see, very difficult to see what's going on the screen here. I don't know if it's because of the brightness in here, whether it needs... There's like a shimmer, a bit of a shimmer on there. I'm not sure if we're getting some noise. Oh, it's alright, it's not so bad. It's almost like an interlace sort of effect going on. That could be corrosion on there. We might have a missing cap or something, certainly a missing component. But yeah, it's working. You can see that's colour, graphics look alright, sound looks alright, sounds okay. So let's try game. I don't know whether this is going to work or not. So. Wish I could see the screen. It's very, very difficult to see the screen in here. Settings. Let's just try to switch it off and on. See. I've got no idea what I'm doing here. Can't see the screen. Right, well, I've not really shown the cleaning up process on this. This has been extremely painful, I've got to admit. You can see, it's looking a lot cleaner there. I've done a lot of work cleaning this up. I mean, when I say a lot of work, I've spent a couple of hours messing around with this damn board. What you seem to get, you get where the acid meets the solder, you get like a crystallization and it goes all the way around the components. I don't know, see if I can zoom in on some of this, so you'll be able to see it. I might be able to use the macro in a minute, but yeah, the crystallization goes all around the components there, and despite sort of using isoprop and vinegar and various other things to neutralize the acid and clean it up, it's extremely difficult to get the crystallization off, and you've got to use something really sharp. I've got these little pointy things here, and it's it goes down to about the quarter of a millimeter tip there, perhaps a bit finer than that actually, perhaps about an eighth of a millimeter, and you've got to sort of go around each of the components here and sort of scrape very gently the sides. And after many attempts, gradually doing it, testing it, cleaning it, testing it, using a magnifier to zoom in there to get really close up there so you can see where the crystallization is around the components. Eventually I got pretty much all of it off and got to the very last components. You can see where these wires go here, and and just as I just touched around that area there to get some of the crystallization off, the resistor just popped off, which I have, you can see this without losing it, on my finger there. So I would estimate that's 2 mil length by 1 millimeter diameter. It's a 104, which is a 10k resistor. And the pads, because of the corrosion, what has happened is that it's got underneath the resistor. It's all of the the contacts there on both sides of the resistor were totally corroded. Even despite trying to clean it up with flux, clean up the board with flux, there's very little to solder onto. So I've ended up, as you can see here, it's a bit ad hoc this. I'll move this, shorten the wires, tidy it up. But I've just got a little 10k resistor, quarter watt, whatever it is, I think it's a quarter of a watt, and just a couple of wires just to join that on there. Sorry the focus is not very good. I'll do a super macro in a minute. I haven't finished cleaning this up yet. It's going to be significantly tidied up because there's some flux and stuff still on there now, and I want to properly deal with this corrosion. I'm going to go over it with another coat of vinegar just to make sure that I've definitely got I've neutralised the acid there, and go over it a second time then with isoprop. I've also got some the solder mask paint, the green stuff. I think what I might do is just clean that up as best as I can, and then use some solder mask paint to cover where you've got these exposed areas. And I also scraped off on the other side. Whilst you couldn't see it, I'll see if I can show you this. See this area here? Yeah, it would bubble through onto here as well, but luckily no traces or anything damaged on either side. It's purely a case of that 10k resistor was loose, and I suspected as much because as I kept cleaning up and testing it, it would work, but there were weird things where the colour would sort of invert and stuff, and you just put your finger around that area there and suddenly it would start, it'd be okay for a second, and then you move your finger away and it would be problematic. And that was a symptom of that resistor just barely hanging on to the two bits of pads that are left there from the corrosion. So it was sufficient that, like I say, you put your finger on it and it would work, and eventually it was only really from the cleaning up process and that resistor just popping off. I mean, no use, no force, just doing that, just touching around the sides, and it just popped straight off. So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that resistor was just hanging on for its dear life, but everything else around there seems okay. Still need to clean up these the prongs here. I've not done anything on these at all. I'm gonna, I might even remove these and pull them off, put some new ones on from something else, because they're extremely corroded. Still need to do some work on this socket as well. Might replace that yet, I'm not sure. Probably be okay. It just needs a really good clean. You've got some corrosion on the insides of it and stuff. I need to think about the best way to do that. Probably just use something like this to scrape it off, wire brush a little bit, and get some WD-40 or something inside there. But yeah, I'll just show you how this is actually behaving as it stands now. So I'll just have to put the button back in here because it popped out. Switch it on. So let's see if I can get this without a glare. Right. Well, this is the first time since I put that 10k resistor on. This is the first time I've seen the colours like this. It's just not been like that. You couldn't read some of the text on the buttons and things, but this is perfect now. So I'm pretty convinced that 10k resistor was the cause. Incidentally, I know there's fingerprints and stuff on here, but the screen is really clean. There's not a mark on it. It's good as new. And you'll notice actually, do you remember when you first saw this, you probably saw all the black, there was like black bits and stuff everywhere, and I thought that was the acid. It was actually the flux, and as I've cleaned the board up, you can see now it looks mint. There's not a mark on there. So even if you've got one of these that's perfect, it'd be good to take it to pieces just to clean the flux off really, because these clear cases, you know, that there's not thoughts about how the flux would look, you know, pretty awful in a clear case. But yeah, this is looking sweet now. But that was far more difficult than I anticipated. It really was. Not sure that jump button's working. Oh yes it is. I just need to clean the contacts, I think. Great. Okay, I'll just show you a close up of the board now. Right, so we're in super macro here, and just bear with me because it may. I'm not sure whether it's going to focus how clear this is going to come out. But as you can see, an awful lot of corrosion. I'll just have to get my pointy tool to see if I can point through a few things while I'm doing this. You can see a massive amount of corrosion here, and it goes all the way down, you know, sort of all the way to the bottom of the board. You've got some blue remnants of that rust there that still needs cleaning off. These prongs, as I say, the battery contacts, they need cleaning up still, or replacing probably would be better. You can see just about there where you've got two 10k resistors. There's one there, that's fine, and this was the one that just literally popped off on its own accord. No force, not next to nothing at all, and you know, no damage there. But the contacts, you can tell, have been really eaten away by the acid. I don't know how good this macro is going to be on this, whether it's going to focus or not. So yeah, there's a load of flux still around there because I've just finished soldering that, you know, sort of 20 minutes ago. Need to clean all that up. But one thing I did do after I cleaned all this up and that popped off, I thought, right, I'm going to go across all of the main components here, and I did. I put some flux, you know, some nice, use some quick chip flux, the good quality stuff, on all of these components all around this area, and you know, held them down with something like this. That's the best way to do it. Hold it down with something like this, and then just heat one side, you know, with the chip, and then heat the other side of the chip. You know, those 3 pins and the tab. And same with these resistors. It's best, you know, support it with something like this, pointing something really sharp, and just reheat one side with some flux there, and that's made, you know, good contacts on all the remaining components here. So yeah, well, I'm not really happy about the way this resistor is at the moment. I guess I should really just order a replacement SMD part there, but if I'm honest, the clearance, that, you know, the space you've got here to work in, combined with the quality of those two pads and how much actually is left on them to be able to solder onto, and the fact that they've been damaged heating that area, you know, I was half anticipating that if I heat too much around that area, they're just going to come completely off, and then I'm into a very dangerous position where, without schematics, I'm not going to know, you know, how to, you know, to where to put a sort of jumper wire, you know, fixed wire too. So I suspect what I think I'll probably do, as I mentioned earlier, is just tidy up this, put a bit of heat shrink across there and stuff, shrink the wires down, and just tuck it in and glue it down. It should be okay, and obviously clean up this, you know, and replace these battery contacts. I will take the board back out and clean the other side a bit again as well, and give the case a good clean, because despite the fact it looks pretty clean now, that way around like that, it's still dirty, there's still bits of acid in there. I haven't actually washed it and stuff. Anyway, I'll just get this all cleaned up again, and I'll show you the end result before I start reassembling it. So just cleaned up now, case there. You can see there's not a mark, there's not a single, there's just a little scratch there. That'll probably come off with some PVC cleaner, but it's absolutely mint. That got rid of all the remnants of the acid and stuff inside there. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. So regards to cleaning process, yeah, you just get some vinegar and just go over, you know, any of the areas where you've got the corrosion, just to neutralise the acid there. I've given this a couple of cleans now with the vinegar, so I don't really need to do a massive amount of cleaning. Then just use some isopropyl on a cotton bud, just to clean up the vinegar, I guess, and any other contaminants that are on there. Overall, that's pretty good there. So that's that side done. Let's have a look at the other side. I'm just using standard vinegar. Yeah, it's probably not the best thing, but it is a good alkaline, and that's all you need really. I'll clean up the battery contacts with wire brush and some sandpaper, I think, and then sort of coat it with a bit of WD-40 if I can. Just get a bit more vinegar in there. I know that's quite a lot, but it's like I really want it to go all around that area, under the components, onto the traces, everywhere really, just to make sure it is as neutral as possible, because this nearly killed, you know, the acid on here has nearly killed this system. Got some bits of cotton swab there. You really need lint free ones to do this. It'll all come off when I finish with this. So finally there, just tidy things up, get some isopropyl on there. That's quite a lot. And again, just you know, go over all the areas, soak up the isopropyl and wipe off any of the residue. It's really annoying getting those bits of cotton stuck on the corners and things. Anyway, you get the general purpose there, you know, the general idea. I'll do a macro there once I've finished cleaning that. So when you come to cleaning the battery contacts, you want to use a wire brush. I've used vinegar on this already and some isopropyl, but it's a good idea just to use a wire brush on this, just to try and get any surface corrosion that still remains, just so you get a good contact with your batteries, I guess. Once I've finished this, obviously I'll go over the board again with the cotton bud, some isopropyl, just to make sure I've not got any particles of corrosion, you know, off this. Me flicking these, obviously do both sides as well. It's looking pretty good. Just do the other one now. This one's going to be a bit harder to do just because of the shape of the damn thing. It is important you clean the board afterwards though, because you're going to get particles of rust and stuff come off here, and it could be conductive. You don't want them floating around on the board anywhere. So what I'm going to do with that resistor, I'm going to leave that on there, but I'm going to just I'm just going to put some heat shrink sleeving around it. I should have my iron's warm enough, just give it a sec. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is just to slip a piece of heat shrink sleeving over resistor. There we go, so you can see I've just slid that heat shrink tubing over there. I'll just heat that, the neck behind there, just to make a good fit around the resistor. I have to move this a different angle, I think. I should do, it's not going to slip off anywhere now, it's pretty tight there on that quarter watt resistor. So I can just position that somewhere flat on the board. Be careful not to try and damage these wires. That's it, that should be okay, it's not going to go anywhere. Right, so here we go with Super Macro. Something worth pointing out, I guess, is it looks like a system on a chip. You know, there's no other real components on there apart from passives, voltage regulators, you know, some very, very small components and things. It seems to be all on that single chip, which is interesting because you've got a main CPU, a Z80 as far as I can understand, and various other components and things, and RAM must all be embedded within that one chip, which is a shame because it means if something goes wrong with your RAM or something like that, a single component, you pretty much need a new pocket, neo-geo colour. So see how this comes out. I'm not really sure, I've never tried this Super Macro this close in before, but hopefully be able to see the damage there. There's an awful lot of damage, and the reason why, like I say, I've used those, just barely been able to solder onto those two pads there, and use that 10k resistor that I've just relocated and put some heat shrink around it. It's not perfect, it's not elegant, but it will work. That's the main thing. I'm going to keep this. I'm not going to sell it on. This is going to be my baby, I guess you could call it. Yeah, not too bad. Let's have a look over the other side. You can see the damage there as well. So again, it's all been treated with vinegar and isopropanol several times. Looks okay. I think one thing I will do as well is I'm going to put a bit of WD-40 over that as well, just because that'll stop any corrosion getting in. I do have some of the screen, solder mask paint, but it's going to be messy. The other things, I might do that at a later day because I'm not sure how reliable this is going to be. Because when I was testing it, before I'd applied that resistor fix, it was really glitchy. It was really sort of, depending on where you touch the board, depending on whether it would work or not. That's all stopped since I replaced that resistor. But that said, I wouldn't like to start painting solder mask paint everywhere and then find that I've got a damaged trace. And I did use continuity on the meter to test a few traces. The ones just reassembling this now. One thing I've just noticed is it doesn't work with batteries. So I've had to put that. You can see the green wire from the earth plane there to the battery negative contact. Can't see a trace that's damaged, but clearly testing on the meter, there's no continuity there. There you go, final result there. It's come out like mint. Sorry I can't get that glare off the screen, really difficult to film the neo-geo pink colour. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.